Morning. How's the devil are you? How's your day been so far? Even more, how's your weekend been so far? Like most Leicester fans, I think it's a bit doom and gloom at the minute. Well, you know what day it is. It's Sunday. It's 10 a.m. It's time for the famous Foxes Aftermath show run by the fans, for the fans. And you know what? Your opinion really matters even more than ever now. So come on, let's get going. Come on, you Foxes.
Welcome to Leicester Fan TV. Are you ready for the show? Thanks to our sponsors, ADT Taxis, Everards, Pukka Pies, Pink Car Leasing, Leicester Riders, Hollogram, The Fox's Arms, Peter's Pizzeria, Hope Against Cancer, and Newby Co estate agents. We want your views, we want your comments, so join us live. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Morning all, how the devil are you? Like I say, I hope you're well, I hope you're good. As you can see by my shirt, I'm in a bit of a dull mood this morning wearing my black shirt. Not quite in mourning just yet, but I think we're getting that way. But I pulled another one out of the bag for you. I've got another media sports reporter for you today. It's none other than Rob Tanner, the former Leicester Mercury. Sorry, not Leicester. It was Leicester Mercury when he was at Leicester Live, and now the Athletic reporter. Let's bring Rob in and get his views for you today.
Good morning. Good morning.
I keep calling it Leicester Mercury. That's me being old school. It's been Leicester Live for God knows how many years. But How are you, Rob? How's it going?
Yeah, I'm good. Obviously, a difficult day yesterday. It was tough to watch at times, although I thought some of the football was okay. They created chances, but it was just a very similar story. And I was left wondering what on earth to write because obviously I wrote a column last week detailing where I think everything was going wrong. And I could have written the same column on the back of that performance.
You could have. Just one thing, Rob, before we get on to the actual game, I was going to ask you, how did you start in your media training or your first job? And how did you get to be where you are now? Just quickly for the fans. Some fans don't know who you are. I think most do, but some don't.
Yeah, well, I went to university and I decided I wanted to be a football writer. So I went on a NCTJ postgraduate course and I was lucky enough to get my first job at my hometown paper, the Tamworth Herald, and I was sports editor there for 8 years. Then I went to the Birmingham Post and Mail for a couple of years, and then I had 10 years at the Leicester Mercury. I was very lucky to be offered the role of Leicester City correspondent when Bill Anderson moved on. And for the last 3 or so years now, I've been with the Athletic. And
you're enjoying watching Leicester at the minute, are you, pal?
To be honest, I'm never going to moan about watching Leicester City because I get paid to watch football for a living, and something about the club that gets under your skin. But I just wish it was better times than this. We've become used to looking at the top half of the table, and this is the first season for a number of years since Claude Puel where we're looking at the bottom and getting worried, and genuinely worried as well at the moment. So sometimes it can be tough to watch, but overall, you can't moan.
Now, you just mentioned Claude Puel. He got sacked for less than this, didn't he? And the football, yes, we have improved the way the football, but it seems to be the defensive side and the attacking side. That's where the problem seems to be at the minute. In the middle, box to box is fine, but defensively and attacking is where we've got the problem.
Well,
what do you see has gone wrong?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you're going to survive in the Premier League, you've got to be able to keep clean sheets, and they haven't kept a clean sheet since West Ham in November. They're conceding very soft goals. They've conceded the first goal in 9 consecutive games now. I mean, when you add all these elements together, it isn't just the defender. I mean, we saw the second goal just before half-time yesterday. There was no pressure on the board. It isn't just the back 4 or 5 as it was yesterday. There's no pressure on the board when it's being delivered. That's an issue. But when you add as well the chances that are being missed, okay, the positive is they're creating chances. I'd be even more worried if they weren't creating chances, but they've got to take these chances in these pressurised situations because of that defensive fragility. So when you add all these things up, that's why it gets genuinely concerning.
So, yeah, sorry, I thought you were going to carry on then. The amount of chances, I know we haven't, before yesterday, we didn't have any we didn't have a pop-on goal for 2 games, did we? But yesterday, we had, I think it was 6 or 7 on target. We had 16 altogether attempts. And Marty's header missed. Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, how he missed that. I know he fluffed his lines right on the 6-yard box. Do you think the pressure is getting to him? Do you think that's getting to the heads that if we don't put this in the back of the net, it's the pressure.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot of these lads are inexperienced in the Premier League. Keenan Dewsbury Hall's only in his second season. It's his first full season, really. I mean, and he feels it. I know the fans sometimes think that the players phoning it in or not trying. And you can guarantee Keenan Dewsbury Hall every game will be giving 100%, just like any fan in the stand would if they got the opportunity to play for their club. I would never question him. He's perhaps trying a little too hard. Or if anything, perhaps he feels, especially when James Maddison isn't in the side, perhaps he feels he has to be the catalyst. He has to be that character. Yet he's only really at the start of his career. But you look at Fars and Suter, they're in their first seasons in the Premier League. Christensen, when he's fit, has only just joined. He looks a good player, by the way. But the leadership needs to come from other areas of the team. I think Maddison stepped up to be that leader, and it's one of those areas when you see a game slipping away from you, or you need to change something in a game, and it can't just be Brendan on the sidelines. He's got to get his message across, of course, but then it's up to the players' responsibility as well. Sometimes to just go, right, okay, I'm going to change this now. I'm going to do something. I can see that we're in trouble in that area, and we'll make a change. They've got to take responsibility themselves.
Yeah, this you've mentioned Maddison a couple of times. I had a few messages about this tweet last week. You know when we're going to go here, don't you? I've had a few. Oh, can you ask Rob this? Can you ask? And I thought, shall I? But you've mentioned Maddison now a couple of times. You put on that tweet about the injuries, the form, the defensive lapses, the wasted chances, and the poor game management. And Maddison was the only one to retweet it or quote tweet it, whatever you want. Has he gone up in your estimation because of what he replied to you, or are your thoughts still the same about him? Because he was the only player that seems to have been coming out at the minute and saying thank you to the fans and trying to talk to the fans a little bit.
Well, I think that's what he was trying to do. I think he was trying to show leadership because obviously he takes it seriously that he's got the armband, and he takes that, he relishes that responsibility. So I've got no issue with him retweeting that and challenging me on that. I mean, I'd still stand by everything I wrote in that article. I think his real issue was with the headline and the fact his photo was on it. Now, this is a trait of journalism. The writers don't actually write headlines or the captions or pick the pictures. That's what the editors and sub-editors do. But I don't mind him showing a bit of passion on. And in fact, a couple of people come up to me yesterday at the game. They said, "Oh, we saw James Maddison. We actually agree with what you wrote, but glad to see he reacted because it shows a bit of fight, it shows a bit of character, and that's what you need in this situation." So I've got no issue with James Maddison at all. I think he's every time I've had dealings with him before, he's been great. I hope that he hasn't got an issue with me, but I'm just calling it how I see it at the moment. And normally I'm accused of being, on the payroll of the football club and being too positive and stuff like that. So it's a bit of a change for me.
Well, I did get one message saying, why have you got Rob Tanner on? He works for the club. And I says, he doesn't work for the club.
No, I'm naturally a positive person, though. I'm naturally a positive writer. So I try and find the positives in there. I don't want to be negative all the time because I don't think that inspires people when they read my content anyway. But and also, I'm not a Leicester fan, so I'm not emotionally involved as everybody else is. So, and sometimes I have to keep, and I think that's for the benefit of my work because you have to be subjective and just assess all the elements of what's going on around the football club, and then form an opinion, and then try and get that opinion across to the readers in a succinct way.
Yeah, a lot of questions are coming in roughly on the same one. Rodgers standing on the touchline. I put Tom's comment on. He stands there and he sort of claps his hands a little bit when he seems to show excitement and that. I've always said the manager sort of moulds the way the team is. You look at teams like Pep Guardiola, Klopp and Arteta, they're running up and down the touchline. But Brendan seems to stand there. Well, he does sit there sometimes, stand there and write notes in his book.
Yeah.
He's a motivational skill, or is it lack of man management from Brendan, do you think?
Oh, no, I think he's just got a different approach. And I remember asking him about it because I did a feature the Brighton game last year away. And I literally just sat and watched him for 90 minutes just to see, because the game was going away from his team. How did he react? What sort of gestures did he? How did he get his message across? And I asked him, and he said it all comes from his father watching him play when he was a youngster. And his dad used to rant and rave, and it never helped him. So he's never been a manager that rants and raves at players from the touchline. Now, each manager has their own individual approach. I mean, obviously, Nige had his. And it got him in trouble a few times. Claude Puel was a passive manager in that technical area as well. Claudio Ranieri would gesticulate constantly during the game. They all got their own different methods and ways. This season, it hasn't been working for Brendan, has it, on the touchline? He'd not been able to change games. In the past, he has. I mean, he was hailed a couple of years ago for being a tactically elite manager that could change games. And the players obviously were on message with terms of his game plan, the press, the high back line, the aggression into midfield from the back line. That were all trademarks of his. Now, this season, that plan isn't working. Now, you might put that down to the personnel he's got, but he's still sticking with that plan. So, as I suggested in an article last week, perhaps he needs to change the plan. He has done a little bit yesterday when he went with the back five. And I thought, by and large, except for a few defensive lapses, that worked for a while. They did look like they could create chances. They were getting forwards quite well. Castagna had one of his better games for a while. Ricky P's taking his time to get back after that injury, but he's got a pivotal role to play for the remainder of the season as well. So I think he is searching now. My feeling is, though, he's running out of those options. It's almost as if he's played his hand. There's not a lot more he can get out of this squad. They've got to do something, find something themselves. Johnny Evans coming back. I hope not everything's pinned on Johnny being that leader. I mean, I think he'll help Suter and Fars. Because that's
do you think? Sorry, Rob, you're saying Johnny Evans coming back in. Yes, he'll come in for a Marty. But do you think he will play three at the back like he did yesterday with Johnny Evans in the middle of them two? Or will he drop one of the other Fars? Well, he's got to drop Fars, hasn't he? Because he's suspended next week.
Yeah.
But how do you think it will be?
It's very hard to predict Leicester this season. You know, I'd literally turn up the game and I don't know what to expect. I don't know what Leicester's going to turn up. I don't know what Brendan's going to do. Personally, I think Johnny would need some protection. You know, he's been out for a long time with injuries and he keeps picking up these little niggles. So perhaps in the middle of a back three would help him. Although I'm really concerned about Danny Amarty's form. We know Sionchu's out in the cold completely. Yannick Vestergaard's training on his own. So there's not too many options there unless he puts in a Wilfred Ndidi in the back three if he wants to play a back three at Brentford. I mean, Johnny, I think Johnny would need some, if in a back four, Johnny would need some protection, pace down the side of him, mobility. You know, he's coming back after a calf injury, then a thigh injury. You know, he's not going to be 100%, but he will be important in terms of his role, his leadership, the fact he can pull people around him into positions. Because, as I said, Suter and Fars, one will push forward, one will drop off, and they're not in sync at the moment. So, but there's potential there. So I think
with Wout Fez as well, he seems to dive in a lot, doesn't he? He seems to go too close and dive. I think that was why he got sent off. Yes, it wasn't a dangerous tackle, but it was a foul. I thought yesterday it wasn't a red card. I think it was just a yellow card. But he seems to dive in an awful lot, doesn't he? A bit too much, I think.
A bit like Sionchui when he first come to the club. You know, he wanted to win every ball. Again, I go back to saying about sometimes that you can try too hard. You know, he's trying to impress. He's trying to show commitment. He's trying to get every tackle in and get in front of his man all the time. But the problem is, you know, there's smart strikers at this level. They'll roll you. They'll turn you. They'll make you make those tackles where you get a yellow card. You've got to be a little bit more measured in your approach. But Sionchui learnt that in his second season. And we saw, you know, he was in the Premier League team of the season that year.
Yeah.
He did settle down. He was being a little bit more considered. He was waiting for the strikers to make their move rather than trying to dictate all the time. And I think Fars has got to learn that lesson as well. And I think he's on that road. I think he's an intelligent lad, and I think he will learn.
Yeah. There's been a few questions about the goalkeeping situation. Everyone about the defensive side of it. Danny Ward. When I saw the goal yesterday, I thought, oh, that was his fault. And then I saw a replay of it from one angle, and I thought, oh, he's been blocked out then by a couple of players. But then I saw it from behind the goal, and he got beaten at the near post, and he had a clear view of it. The second goal, I'm not too sure whether it was his fault or not, but is Danny Ward the main problem that the defensive line do not trust him like they did Casper last year?
I don't know about they don't trust him. I think they might feel that if there's a decent chance on, the chances are, unlike Casper when he used to pull off good saves one-on-one and things like that, Danny's not at that level. But I don't see Danny throwing balls in his own net and things like that. I don't think he's the fundamental problem. As I said, that second goal yesterday, no pressure on the ball from Mendy or Keenan Dewsbury Hall for the little dink pass. Nobody picking up the runner. One person staying in, playing him offside. There's a lot of issues when you consider goal. It isn't just down to the goalkeeper. Whether Brendan, though, is considering making a change, I suspect he is. I think he wanted to give Danny his chance because he's been a loyal number 2 under Casper. And he was committed. I think he would have, if he had the finance, he would have brought in a replacement for Casper in the summer. But he decided, with the limited resources, to give Danny a run. He's giving him a run now. Perhaps he might feel that the pressure at the moment perhaps isn't. Danny's not ready for that at the moment. But then is Daniel Overson? Is he going to be ready for that as well? But he's a very good goalkeeper, very good shot stopper. I think there's a few concerns about his ability with the ball at his feet, and we know that Brendan likes his goalkeepers to be able to play with their feet, and Danny can do that, but he's got a big decision to make. He really has got a big decision to make. When I said about he's played all his hand, perhaps that's the only card he's got left.
Yeah, just a bit. A lot of views over the last few weeks, or more this whole season, is about Brendan Rodgers' tactical nous with substitutions. And there's been a lot of questions today saying about Mendy. I thought Mendy played reasonably, was probably the best player on the park yesterday until he got taken off. And he brings Soumare on, and Soumare seems a lot more slower and loses the ball a bit more and puts us in. Sometimes I don't understand what Brendan's doing with his tactical substitutions, because I don't think they made any difference at all yesterday.
If anything, I thought when he switched to change that back 5 to a 4, I thought they'd started to dwindle away from the game again. They lost momentum, and I can see why fans feel that way. But I also look at the bench sometimes, and with the injuries they've had this season, he hasn't had that many options to come on, and he hasn't got players in form that can impact a game as well. I mean, we've seen Jamie come off the bench. He hasn't really impacted a game much at all in recent months. It's been very difficult for him. Obviously Daka started, but previously he's been on the bench and not really done much when he's come on. So it is difficult to look at the players and see who can change a game for Leicester coming on. I mean, Tete yesterday, I've got no complaint with Harvey Barnes and Tete coming in and changing the system to try and get some width and some attacking intent when you're chasing the game. But they've got to come on and contribute. Now, we saw Tete at Villa Park, and I think I tweeted, this lad's a baller. He looked great that day. And we thought, what a signing this lad could be. But he's just found it ever so tough since with the physicality. And how many times yesterday did he, he got on the ball and he just got, it was like a father taking the ball off his son in the back garden. It was, he's got to toughen up. He's got to learn. He's got to toughen up if he's going to play in the Premier League and have a Premier League career. And so he didn't impact the game. Harvey's been struggling with an ankle injury, and we didn't see much from him when he come on, but there's mitigation there a little bit. But no, it is a worry sometimes when the games are drifting away. How can you arrest that slide and turn it around? We saw against Villa and Tottenham, they can turn games around when they concede, and they invariably do concede first.
I mean, it's like the Southampton game. We're not proactive; we're reactive to the substitutions. I mean, Southampton went 1-0 up. And they brought two. Well, so they were 1-0 up, and they brought two subs on, and they brought a striker and attacking midfielder on last week. But we don't seem to be proactive. We still seem to be reactive to which I think you need to be a little bit more proactive in his substitutions. Yeah,
I know. But again, I think you go back to the balance of the squad, and he's got a lot of defensive midfielders. Ndidi, Soumare, Mendy, they're not going to really change the course of a game. He hasn't. I mean, without Tielemans and Maddison, there is no creativity in that central midfield area. Really, Keenan Dewsbury Hall is a runner. He's a box to box. He's a battler. He'll provide energy, but you need that creative spark, and they don't have that many options. And this is a long-term issue. This is going back to the recruitment side of it. The recruitment has always been the secret to Leicester's success over a number of years, but the last few years we've seen a real drop off in terms of that quality that's been coming in, the money that's been spent, and this is the culmination of it now. You don't have a lot of attacking options to bring on to change games. There's going to be a big rebuild in the summer, an even bigger one in the following summer when there's another 8 players.
Yeah,
15 players in the last 15 months of their contracts. That's a massive job to rebuild this football club.
Now, I've again, like I say, because you've been on, a lot of questions are being put to me in private messages and that. Which way are you sitting? Are you Rodgers in or out? What do you feel was the best for the club at the minute?
Well, I think
I know you're not a proper. I know you're not a Leicester fan.
Yeah.
But you're a sports reporter and you've watched Leicester since, I think, 2009, was it? You started 10, was it? You started, so you've seen some good times, you've seen some bad times. Would it be best for Rodgers to say, ciao, ciao, see you later, or what do you think? What's the best?
I think they've left it too late. Now, if they were going to make a change, they should have done it early in the season when Sean Dyche was available. Because I thought Sean Dyche is the sort of manager that could have come in and reorganised them, got them defensively sorted. I can't see many options who can come in and get that bounce that you need over the last 13 games. I mean, people talking about Rafa Benitez as an option. Would you want Rafa Benitez in?
Not really. I put on Twitter yesterday Pochettino, and everyone kept saying, "Why would you want Pochettino? He's never going to come here." Why wouldn't he though, Rob? It's a Premier League job. He wants a job, or is he waiting for the Spurs job in the summer?
Well, I think there's a question of finance. I know Brendan's on a good wage compared to others, but I don't think his successor will be earning quite as much. Whether he'd want to come in a relegation battle, whether he'd want to face then, a massive rebuilding job. I mean, Brendan came in because he looked at the Leicester team and saw the potential of it. He saw Maddison, he saw Vardy, he saw Barnes. He liked the fullbacks, that's why he came from Celtic, because he could see there was already the building blocks in place. If manager was looking at Leicester now, I mean, there'd be an attractive proposition for most managers, certainly lower league managers. But if you looked at them now, you'd think, well, there's a massive job to be done there. There aren't too many foundations in place there. You got, Vardy and Evans coming towards the end. You've got some players there that aren't good enough. Honestly, you've got a lot of lads that want to leave. That would be a huge job, and I think that might put off a manager of the calibre of Pochettino. Yeah,
our editor, Phil, he decided he wanted Martin O'Neill to come back last night. I think he'd had a few too many beers for that. I think he'd been on a pop. You never go back, but I always said, I would love Nigel Pearson. I would really love Nigel Pearson to come back. But I'm not sure he'd be up for the job because he took no stick whatsoever, did he?
Nige is, blimey, a third term of Nige. That would be interesting. I mean, he's done it before when he's come in and completely sorted out a messed up changing room in many ways. A changing room that needed changing, if you know what I mean. He did it before when he sorted out Sven's mess, and it's another big job this time round. Whether that the ship sailed on that now, and certainly O'Neill. I mean, he's happily retired now, so I can't see much tempting him out of retirement. So when you look at it and you're assessing it, the options, there's not many options.
Maybe Gary Lineker, he's got nothing to do on Saturdays anymore, has he?
No, he should be back. He should be back next week.
Craig Hendry, Mr. Six Sitter, has put, Brendan will be interested in the Spurs job because his name was mentioned in dispatches through the week, wasn't it? When they were saying they're looking at. Do you think that he would be the right fit at Spurs, or is that a bit too much of a big high job for him, more than what he's used to?
No, but he's done the Liverpool job, and he's done Celtic, where the fan base is absolutely enormous and rabid as well sometimes. So the expectation levels are through the roof. No, so he's done those jobs before, and I think there is an element of that. Even though the struggles this season and last season, looking to the next job, no problem. If they sacked him, they obviously have to pay him off. There'd be no compensation for him as well. So I think all these things are factored in. Really, I think he could go in and do a job at a place like that. Whether he'd be able to have sustained success, I'm not sure. I mean, all his career, every club he's been at, it's gone in 2-3 year cycles, and we're coming to the end of the cycle here. 4 years, longest he's ever been at a club.
He's never had to do this kind of job, has he? the battle job, a battle of relegation and stuff like that. He's always got into a team that's doing well. And we were doing reasonably well under Pure when he took. We were, I think, 8th or 9th in the table, something like that. So we weren't doing too bad, but you could see things were going stale. And he came into a good team. The problem is, a lot of fans have been saying he hasn't, apart from Maddison, he hasn't really improved any of the players. Barnes has shown it in flashes, but never consistently. I always thought Brendan Rodgers was the one to put the arm around the players and trying to get the best out of them. But I'm not sure he's improved the team at the minute. No. Is that a fair assumption? I won the FA Cup, which is absolutely fantastic because I adore the FA Cup being old school. I actually love it. But we haven't really moved on from that, have we? We haven't pushed forward.
No, and he's a strange one because he did always have that reputation of working with young players and developing them. And we did see it at the start of his reign. And as I mentioned, Siounsu improved dramatically. James Justin's developed really well until his injuries. You know, he was another one that Harvey has shown it in spells where he's improved. Whether, you know, he can kick on now, it's up to Harvey. Keenan Dewsbury Hall's come in and developed. But I see the argument the other way, that he hasn't improved. People like, you know, Diddy's regressed. Other players, and Maddison's the classic one who has developed. I mean, he was left out of the FA Cup final. I think that was a bit of a wake-up call for him. And then, you know, he's had the bit between his teeth ever since, and he's been the epitome of consistency with his goals and assists since. And now, you know, obviously become the leader of the team. But there are others who have gone backwards.
Yeah, I think Maddison. I think it all started going from Maddison's when he had that so-called party in COVID times. It didn't really work for him, did it? And it sort of went downhill. But like you say, since the FA Cup final, and actually forgot he didn't start in that. It's gone up for him, hasn't he? He's probably one of the best, apart from James Ward-Prowse. He's probably one of the best English midfielders in the Premiership at the minute.
And he's the only asset Leicester have got to sell this summer. You know, he's the only one they can get serious money for. Do
you think he'll be gone this year? I know he's only got a year left. Do you think they'll snap the hands off whoever comes in for him, unfortunately?
Yeah, and there will be people coming for him this summer. And I think it's inevitable that he will move on to one of the big six. They'll reinvest that money. It's always been the club's model. When they have gone away from that model a couple of summers ago, and they spent 50 million on Daka, Samari, Vestergaard, Bertrand, Lookman, you know, they didn't sell an asset that summer. And that's the reason why they've just reported £92.5 million worth of losses. One of the reasons, because they didn't sell an asset. So they'll go back to that. I mean, Top's already, or Susan said in that statement when the finances were announced, that they will go back to that model. So, and I look at that squad. Barnes, you could get some money for Barnes, but Maddison's the big asset, and there will be takers for him, unlike some of the others. You know, I mean, we've talked about Tielemans a lot for the last few years about him refusing to sign a contract and Arsenal in for him. That nobody's coming for him. Nobody's coming for him at the moment. So he's obviously leaving on a free in the summer now, one of a number. So you've missed the boat on selling him on, but Maddison probably is the only one now.
It's strange with Tielemans. We've had, like you say, we've had this chat about the last 18 months, the last 3 transfer windows, and there's been nothing official. So they say there's been no, like you say, you've just said there's been no bids for him. If he was that good, clubs will be clamouring to sign him. Surely, it's like Maddison. You know, Maddison will go at the weekend in the summer. Sorry, I'm getting all confused now.
That's right.
If Tielemans was that good, surely someone would have come in for him and would have got a bucket full for him. But do you think there's a chance Tielemans might think, oh, no one's come in? Or is he going anyway, do you think?
I think he's going, but there's always a chance. I think he'll assess his options in the summer. Obviously, he's a different prospect as on a free. Whether his wage demands might put off some. But I always think that a player reaches a certain level in their career and can't go any further. They reach a ceiling because there's something lacking from their game. Yuri's a wonderful playmaker. I mean, he's the conduit that when Leicester are really firing, you know, he's that little key player that can play between the lines, get them progressing up the field. But as we saw, and I always use the Roma, the 2 legs against Roma as an example, he lacks a bit of physicality. I mean, Pellegrini did a great number on Yuri in both legs, where he would sit on, when Leicester had the ball, he'd sit on Yuri because he knew he was the playmaker, he was the conduit, cut off the source. But as soon as they won the ball back, he was gone. He was running past Yuri, and Yuri couldn't keep up with him. That physicality. And we look at the modern Premier League, and the top midfielders all have that physicality, that drive, that ability, that running power. And Yuri sometimes lacks that. We've seen him sometimes chasing after people and his head wobbling around. He's just struggling to reach that level of physicality that I think would take him to the next level.
Yeah, he's not the quickest of midfielders, is he? He's a bit slow. Well, sorry, slow. Bloody hell, I'm slow. He's quicker than me. But he's not like the midfield, like Dewsbury Hall. He's box-to-box runner. He's got some pace. He can get past players. But Tielemans, like you say, he's the creative player, more skillful player we've got. And it's going to be hard work trying to replace Tielemans and Maddison. If one of them had gone, it wouldn't have been too bad. But both of them, I think that's going to be, it's literally going to be buy one. As Graham Moore says, it's going to be buy one, get one free, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean about, next manager coming in and looking at the rebuild job. It's going to be tough because you've got to replace two of them, and you might have limited funds to do so. I mean, that's a strong midfield, isn't it? Yuri and James Maddison, when they're both firing and fit and on form. So it will be a tough one to deal with, and it's going to be an interesting summer, that's for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. Rob, I've been much appreciated you coming on Sunday morning. I'll take
no problem.
Sunday morning, probably your only day of the week you have off.
That's all right.
I'm going to ask you two very quick questions. A lot of people have asked, if you don't, I know you cover Leicester, but who do you actually support? And who do you look for?
First team, Birmingham was the first team I was taken to when I was 8 years old. I watched Frank Worthington play for Birmingham in 1983.
Elvis the Pelvis.
Yeah, and then I always look out for. I spent a couple of years in Germany, and I used to go and watch Borussia Mönchengladbach when I was a kid. And my hometown club, Tamworth, look out for them.
Tamworth?
Yeah.
Not bad at all. And the next question, are we going down? Are Leicester going down? I
really hope not. Oh, I hope not.
I really hope not. So that's not like a yes or no, is it?
I'm worried. I think they might just have enough. Fingers crossed, but they've got to turn it around quickly. But I've been so lucky that I've been covering them during the most incredible period in the club's history. I don't want it to end like this. No,
I mean he's got credit in the bank from the FA Cup and the two European campaign. How many have we been in? 2 or 3?
We've had the Champions League and we've had 2 Europa Leagues under Brendan. So I've had 3 European campaigns since I've been covering them.
3.
Since I've been covering them 3, yeah. 1 Champions League, 2 Europa Leagues.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's what, yes. Yeah. It'd be nice to get back in Europe, but unfortunately, I think we'll be waiting a few years for that. Yeah. The only Europe all Leicester fans will do, I'll have to come over to Alcúdia and see me in my bar. That'd be absolutely fantastic. Rob, it's been much appreciated. Thanks for joining and taking your time to waffle on about Leicester on your day off. It's been much appreciated. Cheers, pal.
Anytime. See you later.
Cheers, Rob. Thank you, mate. Thanks a lot. Rob Tanner, Athletic, formerly Leicester Mercury. Stop saying that. Leicester Live. Been absolutely brilliant to get him on. I know Jono's in the background. If Jono just wants to come on very quickly, if he's still there, let's get a bird's eye view.
I didn't realise.
Geordie land. How are you, pal?
I mean, I've stopped having good Sundays now, but apart from that, it's been all right.
Wonderlust, Liam. I said it November of 2021 that I wanted Rodgers out. So that's how far I have been Rodgers out. So what's that? 18 months now? About 18 months I've been saying that. Very quickly, John, because I've got a video to play in a few minutes. What are your thoughts on yesterday and Brendan out and that kind of malarkey? Come on, pal.
Yeah, he's out. He's proved me tactically inept now. Like, before he was just stubborn. Like, he was just wants to play his own tactics. But now he showed to me yesterday when he took Mendy off for Yeah, I mean, that just shows like the inept tactics he's got. Like, he's just no idea what he's doing. He played a tactic that doesn't work. Why on earth Leicester can't defend and we can't, and it's set up defensively? Why? We scored a goal. Like, we even though quite far down, we score goals, and we're just playing defensively. Why? And then the players got so frustrated that we got a red card, phase out for 3 games, isn't he? 1 or 2.
1 game. It was 2 yellows, so it's only 1 game.
One game, and the players are frustrated, the fans are frustrated. Just get rid. He could be the signing, getting rid of Rodgers. Pay the contract out and get rid of him.
Yeah, it's going to cost us more to go down than it is to get rid of him, I think. John, I'm going to let you go. Cheers for waiting in the background, pal. You've got your views on. I didn't expect you to nip on, but much appreciated. And next week against Brentford, what do you think, pal? Quickly.
What's that? Sorry?
Brentford.
Oh, 4-0 Brentford. 4-0 Brentford, easily. 4-0 Brentford. No, Ivan Toney would rip us a new one. Ivan Toney will have a field day. But
it's the kind of game I would think Leicester would go and get something out of it.
No, it wouldn't. We fought that against Southampton. No, 4-0 Brentford.
I'm trying to be positive for once instead of
being negative. I can't be positive. I can't.
Reedy keeps telling me you're so negative all the time, and I'm trying
there's been negative and being realistic.
I'm trying to be absolutely positive, not absolutely positive, but positive. It's the kind of thing I said. It was the kind of thing Leicester would go and do and beat Brentford. I don't think they will, but it's the kind of thing we would. Scott Simpson, if Tony puts a bet on, we might get the points back if they find out about it.
I'm going to put Ivan Toney as triple captain of my fantasy team, put it that way.
Yes, Kerry, I don't think we'll get anything from it. I really don't. But all I'm saying is the kind of thing Leicester would go and do. I don't think we will.
Yeah, it is a Leicester thing to do, but we shouldn't be hoping on...
I'm not sure. What's happened? Something, I don't know. I'm not sure. There's a comment there about Ian Stringer. Not sure. I'm not sure what that's about. Brentford will be scared to death. I'm not quite sure. Michael, see you next season in the Championship. Okay. More than likely. Right then, Jono, cheers for joining.
No problem. Before I do go, Ross just said that I said the beginning of the season will finish 14th, and it's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah.
Well, we shall see. We shall see. Jono, we shall see you later. Be good.
See you later.
Right, don't go there. Don't go, everyone. Got a video of some fans that have sent me their comments from yesterday. So here we go. Play the video.
That was absolutely terrible. No movement off the ball. There was no desire to win the ball. I think our best player was Maddison, marginally. Dewsbury all gave the ball away far too much, and every time the ball's pinged into him, he just can't control it. It just goes about 2 yards in front of him. He can't pass it. There was no wide run-in. There was literally nothing.
Rodgers had us beat before we even kicked the ball. His Friday press conference, Ferraris against Minis, crap like that as usual. Tippy-tappy football round the back, no passion, no enthusiasm. Could have been 4 goals, to be fair. Could have been 5 goals. Danny Ward kept us in it for a lot of the game. Took Mendy off 64 minutes. Nothing. Awful. We're heading down.
Poor result again. Poor tactics. Poor substitutions. Players that obviously don't give a crap. Maddison out again. Have we left it too late to make a change? Who's out there that's going to bail us out of this mess that we're in? Fearless Foxes? Nah. Wimpy Foxes. We're going down. Championship. Here we come.
So-called elite manager in charge, but the only thing elite about him is his paycheck. That's it. This season has been disgraceful. Throwing players under the bus, blaming everybody apart from himself. We've played 26 games. We've lost 16 of them. That is a horrendous record. Thanks for the 2 top 5 finishes, the FA Cup win, the Community Shield win, the 9 wins in a row, the 9-0 away at Southampton. But Brenda, your time's done.
Just a shambles in every piece of the park. Walt Fars, I don't know what he's doing. Mind you, I thought his red card was a bit unlucky, his challenge, but I mean, it's just a poor game for a lot of individual poor performances. Amarte, I don't understand why Rodgers even put him in. The list goes on, and how many chances do we need? It's like VAR, offside, goals disallowed. How many more decisions do we need to go our way to say, right, here's your chance, lads? And then Amarte missing that free sitter over his head. I don't even know what he's doing there. And KDH, my word, my word, I've got no words. There's just no words. It's almost like, you know, when you're going towards the pits, you can't get stroke of luck. You can't buy luck. It just, you know, and it seems that way for us at the minute. Look at the results going up, you know, going against us as well. You know, Bournemouth getting a win, and just it's one thing after another, and you know, we're all feeling it. Rodgers out, Rodgers in is, you know, obviously the one that everyone's going on about, but I don't think that's the problem. I think there's more root to the problem than that. There's the injury crisis. There's not signing players in the summer, and there's a lot gone on. There's far more than just Rodgers. I know he got it wrong again, going 5 at the back and not making the subs, but there's more to it for me. I want him gone in the summer, but I don't want him gone now, because it'll just the disruption of it will just, I think, will completely crumble more so. I think we've still got some results, you know, that we can get. You know, we beat Villa, we beat Spurs. I think we can get results, but right now, it's hard work.
There we go. There's a few views from the fans. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Jeff. And Chappie. Cheers for that, pal. Cheers for that. Been absolutely brilliant. Rob Tanner was brilliant. I'll try and get another guest on next week for you. I'm not sure who yet. We'll soon find out. You'll see Thursday or Friday who I get. But cheers for joining. So at the minute, it's ciao, ciao, adios, goodbye. Come on, you foxes. No rants this week. I'm not having a rant.
Thanks for watching Leicester Fan TV. Thanks to our sponsors, ADT Taxis, Everards, Pukka Pies, Pink Car Leasing, Leicester Riders, Hollogram, The Fox's Arms, Peter's Pizzeria, Hope Against Cancer, and Newby Co estate agents. Make sure to follow us on all of our social channels at Leicester Fan TV. Visit our website, leicesterfantv.com.